I'm Dave, Street Level America. The Save America Act that the Trump administration is pushing and has held hostage the housing legislation, which is a bipartisan support, because Donald Trump says that the Save America Act is an emergency and we must make sure that we have verifiable, certifiable election results. The Save America Act essentially requires people to show proof of citizenship when they vote. You would have to do things like show up at your precinct with a passport or a birth certificate. Now, progressives and Democrats are saying that this will disenfranchise voters because not everybody can find their birth certificate and their passport. Now, I'll be honest, I did lose my original birth certificate from Oregon several years ago, but I got a copy from the Secretary of State's office in the state of Oregon, mailed to me, certified mail here in Tennessee. So I do have a legitimate birth certificate and a passport. Now, the SAVE Act requirements require that a document must be used to prove that you're a citizen of America. And that document must show the place of birth. So a number of real ID driver's licenses in America and many of the states will not suffice to satisfy the requirements of the Save America Act. I guess we need to ask ourselves this question. How important is it to us that American citizens are voting in American elections? I think it's really important. Up till now, you can simply show up with a driver's license at places of voting and voting. We have all seen recent news items of commercial driver's licenses being issued to illegal aliens, people who are not here in America illegally. And we've seen what that has resulted in. We've seen some catastrophic, deadly crashes from aliens, people who are not indigenous, who are born here in America, driving on America's roadways and killing people because, I don't know, maybe they didn't understand the road signs. Maybe they made bad decisions, bad judgments. But I think that's proof of why we don't want to use driver's licenses to prove the right to vote. Now, I understand that it's going to be difficult for some to show birth certificates or passports to be able to vote. But I think we have to ask ourselves this question. Do we want American citizens, those who have a right to determine the direction of this country, voting in American elections? Now, I was just watching a news account from Bill Melugin of Fox News, and he did a lot of great coverage on the border. And he saw firsthand a number of piles of thrown away IDs from people coming into America illegally under the Biden administration because they did not want to prove that the country they were coming from was not their place of birth. They did not want to be caught with those IDs because it would have gone against their asylum claim to be in America. So they showed up on America's borders. Hey, man, I don't have any ID. I don't have any ID. Well, they threw it away in piles, and there were piles of them. We've seen pictures of them on the border, the southern border of America. America is a great country, and people want to come here. I get that. I understand that. We want to be a welcoming country. But especially in the issue of deciding who is going to steer this country, who are going to determine the laws of this country, who are going to vote into office, should it not be American citizens that are making those decisions? Now, I understand. Please hear me out. I am not without compassion. I understand that it can be hard to find your birth certificate. Well, I'm not going to show you the front of it, but I have my original Social Security card. I'm not going to show you the front of it because I know what you need to see my Social Security number, but I have that still. What I did was I wrapped it in plastic so it wouldn't be destroyed over time, and you can tell that this was issued a long time ago. Then I have my birth certificate, and I have my passport. And it took me about, I keep them in a fire safe, so it took me about 2 minutes to find all those. I know a lot of people can't do that. And we don't want to be without compassion, but I do want, for the future of America, for the future of our direction, do we want people who would lie to get into this country and throw away their IDs at the border because they want to conceal where they were really from? Do we want those people deciding the direction of this country? Do we want people that entered America illegally, that by fraudulent means came into America? Do we want them deciding where we go as a nation? I don't think so. As they say, the devil's in the details. If and when the Save America Act is passed, which I do support, I do believe strongly that American citizens should vote in American elections. We did do an interview here in Tennessee, Chattanooga, Tennessee, with a woman who watched the Gavin Newsom recall voting. This woman claimed to me that she watched through one of the signature verification machines a ballot go through the machine that did not match the voter card on file, and it was allowed to go through. This woman, I haven't been able to find her since then, but swore up and down that it did happen. And she said, I saw it. I saw that person's name. I was a person in the polling place where they count the ballots, ballot counting center. I saw it. It did not match the signature, and it went through. I think we need to do a lot to increase voter integrity in the United States of America. And I've given you an example about how we're allowing people to drive large, big rigs in America that shouldn't be doing those. Shouldn't be driving those big rigs, putting us at risk. And I don't doubt Bill Malugin did see piles of just thrown away IDs from overseas countries, from people wanting to conceal their ID because it would harm their asylum claim in America. I don't doubt his honesty in sharing that story. I'm not without compassion, but I do believe and I do support the Save America Act. And, I'll give the critics of that act their due in saying, well, some people who might be permissible to vote may not be able to find documents that show their place of birth. But I think they need to find those documents, because I don't know about you, but I want people deciding the fate of this country who are invested in this country, who are born here. We need to be a nation of law and order. The critics are saying that the amount of voter fraud in America is negligible. I can't say that I agree with that. I would like to see hard numbers on that, and I would like us to be able to do some research into that, to see just how widespread voter fraud is. But I do know this. I care about this country, and I do firmly believe that only American citizens should vote. I acknowledge that it may be difficult for people to get documents showing their place of birth. But if we just say, oh, well, they've been here a long time, they can't find any of this stuff. They say they've been here. We take them for their word for it, and we allow them to come through, and 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 them to come through. How many of those people were the people that threw away their documents at the border and came into America through deceptive means? Not without compassion, but I do think we need to be, I think we need to safeguard the integrity of the voting, tabulating election system in America. I don't think we're there yet. I'll just say it. I think there needs to be more work done to increase the certifiability, the audit ability, and the public perception of accuracy in the American voting system. I think the SAVE Act, and I know it might be difficult to implement, and I know there's going to be a lot of consternation for people who can't find their documents, and local election officials that struggle to maintain and gear up for these higher standards of certification for American citizens to vote. But I think it's a price we need to pay, because we need to have American citizens vote in American elections. Cowboy up, America. This thing called democracy, representative democracy, governance, when you have so many people, it's a hard thing to do. I understand. It's not easy. But American citizens need to vote in American elections. Let's say I wanted to visit New Zealand. I've been there, love the country. Let's say I'm not a citizen and I just kind of sneak in and I want to vote in the New Zealand election. Should I be allowed to vote in the New Zealand election because I just like there and I want to stay and I haven't got my paperwork done yet, but I want to be a citizen, I want to vote there. Should I be allowed to vote? If you were a Kiwi, if you were a New Zealander, you'd probably say, no, this is New Zealand, and New Zealanders should decide the fate of New Zealand. I'm using this as an example. I'm not going back to New Zealand, but I'm just the shoe on the other foot. They would want their citizens determining the fate of their country. Likewise, why is it hard to fathom that we as Americans, we as American citizens, want to ensure that our fellow citizens are deciding the fate of America? Cowboy up, America. I'm Dave Adams, Street Level America. That's what I think.